Welcome back to the Cal State application. For this video, we're going to be covering the first quadrant. But before we get into the nitty-gritty of this application, I do want to harken back to our first video, which was the Getting Started video. And in that video, we created our account, we created our extended profile, we chose a campus and a major, and we were just getting started with our application. But with this one, I do want to give a couple of different examples just to show an overall approach to the CSU application. So before I delve into the specific campus and major, I do want to let you know that in the extended profile, when I chose the degree goal, which was the first bachelor's degree, I chose the selection of having an associate degree for transfer. And what I specified was that I was getting an AST in mathematics. And there's a reason why I want to let you know about this is because there might be some boxes that pop up showing that there is an error with this. And there might be error boxes that pop up when you do it on your own. So I just want to explain it's not an issue. It's not a problem. You do not have to worry if those boxes pop up. So for first campus, I'm going to choose Cal Poly Pomona. Now with the start term, you can choose the start term if you want to, but honestly, there's only one option because we chose the spring 2021 transfer option. And as for source, most of the campuses will just have one main campus option, and some of them may have an extension, but you do not have to worry about the source. You only have to worry about when you choose a specific major if the location is the main campus. And as you can see, all of them have the deadline of August 31st, which means that you're in the correct term for the spring transfer. Not only that, but if it says undergraduate for whichever campus you're going for, then you chose the correct transfer level that you're going in as. You're doing that upper division transfer. So for this one, I'm going to go ahead and choose industrial engineering as my major for Cal Poly Pomona. And you'll see there's an alternate program box that pops up. And what this means is that if there aren't enough spaces in the primary program that you chose, industrial engineering, then if you have an alternate major decided that you would not mind going into if you don't get your first pick, then you can choose an alternate program. But say, for instance, industrial engineering is the only major that you want to complete at Pomona, then you can go ahead and select the box, I'm not interested in an alternate program. Or if you are, you can go ahead and scroll over here and choose the major that you want to do. Hit save. And in order to add on the other campuses, you'll see that it's just campus name and Cal Poly Pomona. You have to reset the system by hitting campus name. And when that happens, it'll give you all the other CSUs that are open right now. So the next one I'm going to do is Long Beach. Everything is already saved. I'm going to scroll down and I'm going to go ahead and choose a different major than the industrial engineering that I chose at Cal Poly Pomona. For this one, I'm going to choose civil engineering. That one's all good to go. You don't have to do anything more. It'll save it for you. Going to reset it. Choose a different campus. For this one, I'm going to choose San Diego State because I love San Diego. So I've already chose aerospace engineering for this one, but say I want to change my mind. You can just go ahead and hit undo. Say yes, you want to delete this program. Nothing else will happen. And you can go ahead and scroll down and choose the major that you want to choose instead. So nothing is set in stone until you actually submit your application. So you still have time to make corrections. So for this one, I'm going to choose, chemical physics as my option. So I'm going to continue with my submission, but it's showing that the current associate degree for transfer that I chose, mathematics, is not congruent or similar to the requirements for that chemical physics major. However, it does not mean that I can't apply for it, that I'm not eligible for it. It just means specifically that the degree that I'm getting at Crafton is not syncing up to the required courses for that specific transfer degree requirement. So all I'm going to do is just check this box saying that I've read it, but I still want to go for that major and I still want to submit my application. So I'm going to check that and then hit continue submission. The last one that I'm going to do, go ahead and reset. And of course, choose a nearby campus of Cal State San Bernardino. And with Cal State San Bernardino, I want to spice it up even more. So with this one, I'm going to choose English as creative writing as my concentration. And this one, nothing pops up, so it's automatically saved. So I'm actually going to go to my application. Now, for right now, you'll see that all these are already completed. For yours, though, it'll probably show these 3 quadrants having no green whatsoever, but the program materials might have some of it completed. For right now, we're choosing that first quadrant, that personal information. So once you click on that, it'll break it down into 7 different sections, and we're going to start with that release statement. Now, the release statement is pretty much just signing off saying that everything that you put in the application is correct, that you're not lying, that everything that you put in there, you are willing to sign away saying that everything is all good. So that's that first check that you're going to click. The next one is the contact information. And this one is releasing your contact information to the CSU campuses. And you definitely want this to happen because this is how they're going to be able to communicate with you, to let you know that you've been accepted, what the next steps are for your transfer. So you do want to check that box. You do not want to leave it blank. This last one that's dealing with additional information is being released to our transfer center coordinator. And one of the reasons why we encourage you to check this box is because we'll be in the loop to be able to help you with the next steps with your admission process and with your transferring. There's quite a few deadlines that are going to be coming up, and it might be a little bit overwhelming with the emails and keeping track of all of your portals, that there might be something that you overlook. And that's where we come in to be able to help you, to let you know that this is going to be required at each of the campuses, and just to be that guided support and foundation for you before you leave us at Crafton. So you'll hit save and continue, and you'll continue to the next section. Biographic information, if you see these boxes grayed out, that means that you've already completed this section when you created your profile, which was creating your account. If you do see anything that is incorrectly put in, you can always just go back up here. You'll choose My Profile or Extended Profile. My Profile is dealing with your name, your birthday, email address, phone number. Extended Profile is dealing with your specific degree program. So if you end up realizing that you're getting a transfer degree, you can go ahead and go to your Extended Profile and correct it there. Or if you're not getting a transfer degree, you can correct it in that section as well. So going back to this, make sure that your name is correctly inputted. With an alternate name, this one is just asking if you have an alternate name on any type of legal documents. So if it's on your transcripts, if you recently got married, if you changed your name, if you have something that has your nickname on there, go ahead and select yes and put down the names that would be associated with those documents. If you have a nickname, but you don't have it listed on any legal documents or any records that you're going to be submitting to Cal State San Bernardino or any other Cal State, then you'll just go ahead and select no. The preferred name is something where if you do not have it legally changed, but you prefer to go by this name. So if you do go by a nickname and that's what you prefer to be called by, you can go ahead and select yes and then input the nickname or the name that you like to go by as opposed to your legal name. So next up is your legal sex. With this one, the only question that you do have to answer is that first one, what is your legal sex? And that's because there is that little red star or red asterisk right next to it requiring you to put in information. For the other 3 questions that are here, if you're unsure or if you don't know how to respond or if you don't want to respond, there are options for you to do that. You can decline to state, you can say not sure, another orientation if it's not listed. With this information, it's not going to be associated to you specifically. There's multiple reasons why the legal sex as well as the racial and ethnicity preferences are listed in the application. It's for the CSUs to be able to get money or grants to be able to help out specialized groups on campus. And also, if you end up going on to any of the CSU websites, if you look at any of the brochures, there's usually like a breakdown of the populations that you will find on campus. And this is where they get the information from. So none of it is associated to you and none of it is dealing with your admission into the CSUs. So you do not have to feel as though you need to respond to any of these questions. Birth information, go ahead and fill it out as it is. With this, I do recommend not to type it in, just to click the little calendar, and it's a little bit easier for you to choose your month, day, and year. Lastly, if you're unsure about your county, you can always Google it, or you can go ahead and just message us, and we'll be able to help you out with figuring which county the city is in. Applicant information, as you can see, none of these have a red asterisk next to it, so you are not required to respond to these questions. But if any of these pertain to you, I definitely recommend to hit yes, because these will be also taken into consideration for your fee waiver as well as your admission into the EOP program if you are interested. And with the EOP program, we'll talk about it a little bit more towards the end. It'll be in the third video, the third quadrant video. Now with the statewide student ID number, as you can see, once again, there's no red asterisk, no red star right there, so it's not required to put that information in. With this one, it's a 10-digit number that's found on your high school transcripts. So it's not even the number that you had to remember to look up when they posted the grades on the wall, trying to keep that everything anonymous, yet still keeping it in alphabetical order. But that number is not the number that you're including here. It is not required. It does not hinder your admission. It doesn't help your admission. So we just recommend to leave this one blank. Hit save and continue on to the next section. So contact information, you want to make sure that all this information is correct. With this section where it says approximate date through which current address is valid, this one is talking about a future date. So how it's written is a little bit confusing, but it's asking about how long are you going to be at this current residency, not how long were you at this residence. If it isn't your permanent address, say for instance this is a P.O. box, but that's how you end up getting your mail, you can go ahead and select no and then type what your permanent address is. With the phone number, this is also grayed out as well as your email. Make sure that these are correct. And like I said, if they're not, or if there's some type of error, you can go back up to your name, click on my profile, and go ahead and correct that information. A couple things that we recommend is that with the phone number, make sure that your voicemail is set up. And not only that, but that your voicemail is not full. If you do not have a voicemail set up, if your voicemail is full, no one can leave a voicemail for you. So you might be missing out on a very important call. And this goes for life in general. The same can be applied to your email. Make sure that you do include an email address that you check regularly. You never know when they're going to submit information that is important for you to keep up to date. So do choose an email address that you check quite often. Save and continue. Continue to next section. And this one is talking about your citizenship and also your residency information. So with your citizenship, you'll go ahead and choose the correct citizenship for you. If none of these apply to you, you can go ahead and select none and then just choose your country of citizenship. As I said before, none of this information will be released, nor will it hinder your admission into the CSU. With your residency, this one is also talking about if you possess a specific state residency. So if you have lived in California your whole life, then you can claim California residency. If you have lived here for more than a year, you're a California resident. So if for whatever reason, maybe you moved out of state, but you did come back to California, you can go ahead and say, no, I haven't lived in California continuously since I was born. And it'll ask you, when did you start over your current stay in California? So for instance, with this one, I left for 8 months to live in Oregon, and then we didn't really care for Oregon too much, so we came on back to California, and we've been there ever since. So I just chose a estimated month and year, or month and day, but I did keep the year correct. So they're not wanting to know the exact day and month and time that you arrived back in California, but the year is the most important part. So you can go ahead and estimate the month and the day. You'll hit save and continue. Continue to next section. And you're dealing with race and ethnicity. And with these, as I stated before with the legal sex, if you don't feel comfortable releasing this information, you're not required to do so. So with this one, if you regard yourself as Hispanic or Latino or Latina, Latinx, you can go ahead and select yes if you do not know, and if you decline to state because you don't want to state, you're more than welcome to choose that option. And with your race, you're going to be choosing this as well. If you ended up identifying yourself as Hispanic or Latino, Latinx, Latina, you're actually going to choose white and choose other white. And this is where you'll specify which background you identify with the most. So if you are born in El Salvador, you can say El Salvador. If you were born in Mexico, you can put Mexico. So the reason why they do this is because race is different than ethnicity. But if you feel uncomfortable responding, or if you feel as though you don't pertain to any of these subcategories, you'll just go ahead and select none of the above. And this last one is dealing with the overall arching description of your race or ethnicity. Which one do you pertain to the most? Which one is your preference? So you'll be able to have these options here. And as I said before, if you don't feel comfortable, you don't have to respond, but you just need to select decline to state. And once you're done, you'll hit save and continue, and you'll continue to the next section. Can you believe it? We are almost done with quadrant 1. All right, so getting down to this with the social security number. So this one is a required question that you do have to respond to. But if you don't have a social security number, you just go ahead and select no, and then just go ahead and select this box. It's not required for you to have a social security number to get into the CSU, just the same with your citizenship. Both of these will not hinder your admission into the Cal States. With your language proficiency, you'll go ahead and select the language that you first knew, and then you can go ahead and select any other languages that you know as well. Military status, this one is grayed out. As I said before, it's going to be found in your profile, but for this one, it's going to be found in your extended profile. So if that one is listed incorrectly, you'll just go back to your name, select extended profile, and then correct that information. Military dependent question is different than military status. With this one, it's saying if you are a dependent of someone who served in the U.S. military or who had previously served in the U.S. military. You'll go ahead and select which one pertains to you. If they no longer serve in the military, then they'll be considered either a veteran or reservists. If not, then you'll just select no. With the next section dealing with the academic standing, this one is just seeing if you are in good standing at the last school that you've attended. And with the last school that you've attended, more than likely it's at Crafton. So if you still are taking classes here, if you haven't been kicked out, if you have no holds, if your grades are good, 2.0 or higher, then you can go ahead and select yes. If not, then you'll just go ahead and select no. But do know that with the academic standing, it is one of the requirements for admission into the CSUs. You must be in good standing. With the academic infractions and conduct, this very first one is dealing with probation. So if you have ever been on probation, even if it was only for one semester, you can go ahead and select yes, but it does give you the option to explain or disclose that information at your discretion. You're also able to use this option of disclosing the information if you select yes on any of these other questions as well. So it's one of the benefits with this section is that you can explain yourself. With the teaching credential program, if you are at this moment not interested in the teaching credential program, you can go ahead and say I'm not interested, but that does not mean you can't apply to the credential program at a later time. This is just wondering in the moment if this is something that you're looking for. If it is, then they'll be able to give you information on how to complete your credential program, as well as how to apply for the program itself. So if you're planning on applying at a later time, they'll give you 3 different options. The main 2 that people usually look at are the single subject and the multiple subject. With a single subject, this is for people that are wanting to teach a single subject, and that usually falls with the grades 6 all the way through the senior year of high school. For the multiple subject credential, those usually encompass anything that is 8th grade and down. Now, if I was to choose the educational specialist, this is dealing more with individuals that are wanting to have a specialized concentration. So that may even be with phonics or with listening or with reading. So they'll be able to specialize in that specific program. With CalFresh, if you're unsure what CalFresh is or the benefits with it with Cal State, it gives you this link right here to read up a little bit more on that information. And if you are interested, you'll be able to select yes, and this will put you in a consideration for your eligibility for monthly food assistance that is used through the CalFresh program. If you're not eligible, it's no harm, no foul, but it's always beneficial just to hit yes to see if you are, if you feel as though you might have some food insecurity if you're going to the 4-year. With the California Promise Program, yes, there are multiple California Promise programs, but with this one specifically with the Cal States, this one is saying that if you have an ADT and you're wanting to complete your degree in 2 years, then you'll go ahead and select yes to say that you are interested in participating in that Promise Program to make sure that the classes are available for you to ensure that you are finished in 2 years. If you break that promise, nothing happens. Okay, so it doesn't hurt to hit yes. With the RN license, this one is asking if you already have achieved your RN license. So not that you're going into pre-nursing with the intention of getting your RN license, but that you already have it. Because if you do, you'll select yes and actually put in your RN license number. But if not, go ahead and select no, and then answer this last question on the page dealing with how did they hear about, or how did you hear about them? And with that, this one is just asking generally, how did you hear about it? Just to see where their advertising is going, if it's from word of mouth, if it's actually from a search engine, from a fair. They just want to be able to see where this information is being distributed to. Hit save and continue to the next section, and you are in the last part of Quadrant 1. I know it was a long stretch, but you are there. And with this one, it is best to make sure that you look this over. If you are an individual that was born before January 1st, 1997, or if you answer yes to any of these questions, then that means that you are an independent. At the very beginning, when you created your profile, as well as the biographic information, you put down what your birthday was, and that is what determines that first question, if you were independent or dependent. So if you were born after January 1st, 1997, but you said yes to any one of these questions, then you are considered independent, and you're mainly going to be answering questions about yourself. If you are a dependent student, then the questions will change to pertain to your guardian or to your parents. So depending on which one is selected, it'll list it right here, and it'll ask specific questions pertaining to that independent or to that dependent classification. So with independent, you're looking at the total size of your household, which is who is on your taxes. Not who's living at your house, but who's on your taxes. So this one is including yourself. If you're married, if you have any children, you'll include that whole number right here. If it's just you, then you'll just put 1. If you do have dependents that are living with you, and you are giving funding for them to help support them, then that's where you'll also include this number here. With the adjusted gross income, this is dealing with 2018, so it is from 2 years ago. And that one is dealing with the, it'll give you the specific information as to where to find the AGI on your tax forms by clicking there. And it'll give you the exact line depending on the tax form that you use. With the untaxed income and benefits, this is dealing with income that is alimony, or if it's child support, disability, then you'll include this information right here. But if you do not receive any of that, you'll just put 0. And at the time being, if you don't have this information on hand, you can always go back and put in the correct information at a later time. Just make sure that you do it before you submit your application, because this will help you with not only the EOP program admission, but also with your fee waiver for the application. Campus housing, this is not saying that you must live on campus, but if you are interested in figuring out the transfer housing availability at the CSU, you'll go ahead and select yes, and they'll give you information on how to apply for housing and also how to pair you up with a good roommate befitting of your personality. And this last portion is just dealing what is the highest level of education for your parent or guardian. For number 1 and number 2, you can just associate the number with a specific parent. You don't have to specify number 1 is your mom, number 2 is your dad. They just want to see the highest level of education for both. You'll hit save and continue, and then you'll be going into the next quadrant, which will be picked up in the next video. And we hope to see you then.